review some gameplay too. Battling drones is what I do. M-I-Z-Z-A-H is the show about Mizzah T. It's the show about Mizzah T. FOOS. Hey FOOS, welcome to the first episode of Teabag. In this segment, I answer questions from you, my viewers. But this segment only works and is only made possible if you send me some damn questions, FOOS. So send me some damn questions, FOOS. Well, a couple of you did, and they were pretty good ones. Actually, one of you sent me a damn essay question, which I really appreciate, FOOS, because I only got 2 questions to answer from all you FOOS. Well, let's get this Teabag going, shall we? First question is from Furious Francis of PlayerEssence.com. Most, if not all of my subscribers, should be familiar with them. Mr. Furious has been kind enough to post a few of my videos on his website, and Mizzah T really appreciates that. Well, anyway, on to his question. Mr. Furious asks, "Sup Mizzah T, this is Furious Francis of PlayerEssence.com, and I wanted to ask you, what is your most anticipated game of 2013 on Wii U? Mine is a tie between Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, and Sonic Lost World. Keep up the good work, your channel rocks." Well, thank you, Furious. I really appreciate that. And thanks for the question. Mizzah T is a big fan of your channel and website as well. But anyway, to answer your question, and I thought long and hard about it, Mizzah T has decided Super Mario 3D World. It was very close between 3D World and Sonic Lost Worlds. It's been a long ass time since Mizzah T has been remotely excited for a Sonic game. The last one maybe being Sonic Adventure 2 on GameCube. But I ultimately decided on Super Mario 3D World because I'm almost 100% sure about many aspects of this game, like super tight controls and the fun factor and the overall enjoyment. But I know there'll be other gameplay surprises having to do with still unannounced power-up suits and having that quirkiness of Super Mario Bros. 2 realized in a 3D game. Everyone's unique abilities on display in that frog suit in 3D. I mean, come on, FOOS. But honestly, you can throw in the Wonderful 101 as well, FOOS. Wow, that's some alliteration there, FOOS. I'm mad excited for that game. It just reminds me of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons. Waking up early in the morning, getting a fat-ass bowl of Frosted Flakes and plopping down in front of the floor model TV and enjoying some action cartoons for about 4.5 hours straight. Mizzah T is very excited for that game too. But for me, Mario 3D World has me most excited. From what I expect from a 3D Mario game, but also what secrets and new gameplay mechanics that I expect Nintendo EAD to bring to this game. So yeah, it's Mario 3D World for me, FOOS. Thanks for the question, Furious Francis. A link to his channel is in the description below. Make sure you check him out if you haven't already, and subscribe, FOOS. Our next question comes from YouTuber Kuro the Traveler. I hope I said that right. Please excuse me, Kuro, if I paraphrase a bit. Kuro's question goes, "I've been wondering, Mizzah T, what are your thoughts about game world potential? Like recently with Pokemon X and Y having Mega Pokemon, or with how in the Mario series, Mario going nearly all over the place, yet still not in a town in 3D where we get to see shops and stuff. Or better example, Monster Hunter 4, where from what I heard, you travel with a caravan across places visiting different villages and jumping on the backs of large monsters to beat them to death." Thank you for the question, Kuro. I must say, I've yet to be overly impressed with the gaming worlds. The potential there is still so great. I'd say the first time I became really conscious of open game worlds was Ocarina of Time on N64. I was mostly satisfied by what was done there, although I found myself wishing it was bigger and more populated. But I understood the limitations of the day. And then Shenmue came along, and my interest in game worlds peaked even further. Controlling a realistic person in such a realistic world was still fairly new back then. Having a daily allowance and being able to buy food and drinks, but it wasn't really integral to the gameplay. But that game got me really excited for the future of interactivity between the player and his gaming world. But I must say, I think developers for the most part have failed to tap into the potential of a deeper interactivity from gamers and the characters they control in these worlds in these open environment sandbox games. Like in the GTA games, if I see a door while I walk down the street, I want to be able to open that door and explore that building. But Mizzah T understands that will make the game a lot more expensive. I just love exploring the world and being surprised by it. As far as wanting to see Mario in a town with shops, we sort of got that experience with Mario Sunshine. And honestly, FOOS, I don't find it all that interesting. Mario running around and talking to people in a hub town, I don't really like that. My favorite hub world for Mario was probably Peach's Castle in Mario 64. I loved exploring the castle and finding secret passageways and jumping into paintings. Mario in Kakariko Village or Times Square don't sound too appealing to me, not in my opinion, foos. And as for changes in Monster Hunter, with caravans or fighting on monsters' backs, they all seem like a natural progression. As long as the core gameplay is there, Mizzah T is happy, fools. And as for Pokemon XY having Mega Pokemon, I really don't know all that much. My experience with Pokemon started in 1998 and it pretty much ended in 1998. I wasn't really into turn-based RPGs yet, so Pokemon really wasn't that appealing to me. I did have Pokemon Red, and I played it from time to time, but I was never really that into it. But I do plan on trying to get into Pokemon with Pokemon X and Y. And as for the rest of your question, I'll be addressing in the upcoming Tea Time commentary. Thank you very much, Kira the Traveler, for your questions. I actually do have a third question, and that question comes from YouTuber MBeeman11. He didn't send this to my tea bag, but he left this in the comments of one of my videos instead. But it was very sincere and respectful, so I felt like I should return the respect and answer his question in the tea bag. MBeeman11 states, "I'ma tell you this, T, cause it seems like you're one of the few Nintendo fans that has some sense." I feel like that's a little condescending. That means you feel like most Nintendo fans are dumb or something. I obviously wholeheartedly disagree, but I'll move on. He continues, "I'm not a young gamer. I remember the gaming crash of '83. I remember how the NES and what it meant. I remember how the NES and what it meant. I think he meant to say, I remember the NES and what it meant to gaming in general. I remember how on point that console was. Back then, Nintendo had the best hardware and software. Now it's nowhere near that. I would like Nintendo to release a console to compete with their competitors. Nintendo, and he capitalized, promised that the Wii U would be a system for the hardcore gamer. The Wii U is not that system." Well, as far as the Wii U goes, Reggie said it was Nintendo's goal to make the system more appealing for the hardcore. I don't remember him promising that, but if you have a link to the article or a video, please send it and I'll address it. But expecting any company to be just as dominant as they were 30 years ago is pretty laughable. Atari just kept making flop console after flop console, and that is what sent developers and publishers their way, so they ain't have no choice. Not to say that the NES wasn't an amazing system, but it was amazing because of the games, not because the hardware was so powerful at that time. I have an upcoming tea time that will address this in more depth, and I really appreciate the question. And as far as the Wii U not being a hardcore gamer console, that's a pretty subjective thing to say. I mean, if you look at the big games coming out this fall, for all systems, Nintendo was getting most of the multiplats. That's leaps and bounds ahead of where the Wii was, so I'm not really sure what you're talking about there. And if you look at the current lineup for Wii U, it's pretty diverse, and it doesn't really scream casual console. There's quite a few hardcore titles on the system, going back to Batman and Ninja Gaiden and Zombie U. I mean, these are quote-unquote hardcore titles. So this ain't the Wii situation here. So like I said, that seems pretty subjective to me. And the rest of your question reads, "I would also like to see Nintendo come up with some fresh new IPs. Every generation, it's the same games. Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Metroid. Nothing wrong with those games, but where are the new IPs? Sony seems to release fresh new IPs on top of existing ones with each generation. Why can't Nintendo? Until they decide to be serious about the core gamers and not the kids and casuals." Here we go again with that kids and casuals nonsense. "I will be against what they have become." Talk about Nintendo like it turned into a demon or a vampire or something. But anyway, as far as the Nintendo need new IPs part of your question, here's my answer for that. Gamers cry. Gamers cry. Gamers cry they want new IPs. But when those new IPs come out, they don't sell. Nintendo is known for creating unique gameplay elements and then deciding to add their characters to the game instead of making a new game or new characters. Let's go back a bit, shall we, fools? What if Nintendo released Doki Doki Panic in the US as it was, instead of swapping out the characters and calling it Super Mario Bros. 2? I'll tell you what, fools, that game would have bombed hard. Then fools want to say it's Nintendo fans' fault for only caring about Mario and Zelda. Oh really? Let me ask you this. How many Sony studios closed and employees got laid off because Sony fans didn't go out and buy those precious new IPs you talking about? People cry about Bayonetta 2 being exclusive to the Wii U, but how many of you fools, how many of you crybabies actually went out and bought that damn game? The first one. Not many of you fools. The numbers don't lie, but a lot of you fools are crying. People cry about Nintendo IPs, but this whole generation, they went out and bought yearly installments of Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty. And how many Need for Speeds, or Gears of Wars, or Halos, or Forzas, and so on and so forth did we get in just this one generation? Meanwhile, since 2007, I only got one new console Zelda and two 3D Mario games. No Star Fox, 1 Donkey Kong, no F-Zero, 1 Smash Brothers, and 1 Metroid. It's easy to pick on Nintendo because they've been around for 15 years longer than everybody else. People cry, oh man, it's the same game for 30 years. Should Nintendo apologize for being around longer than everybody else, fools? Does that make any damn sense to you? No, it don't make no damn sense. What are they supposed to do? Stop making games that sell 8 to 10 million copies so they can create a game that maybe sells and they have to close the damn studio? That's not a sustainable system for any developer. But if you're gonna try to tell Mizzah T that Mario Galaxy 2 is the same as Super Mario World, then you just crazy, fools. Even more crazy than Mizzah T, and that's a lot of crazy. But again, I have an upcoming tea time that will address this in more depth. I really appreciate the question. Well, that's it for today's tea bag. Thank you, fools, for sending in your questions. All 2 of y'all. Please go ahead and send in more questions for the next episode. Remember, this segment is fueled by your interaction, so I need your gas to power this bus, fools. Hope you enjoyed it, and please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share with other Nintendo fans. And please, join the Facebook community, NFC Nintendo Fight Clubbers, and you can follow me on Twitter if you like. Links below. Thank you for watching, fools. See you next time. Oh yeah, one more thing. Play Nintendo, fools.